Gary.
There he is, Sean.
Gary, it's so good to see you. I love all those books.
Great to see you. You know, the books make me calm. Like if there's no books in a room, like I get anxious. It's just like wallpaper or something. I don't know.
It's still great technology, I say. It's portable, flexible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gary, last time you were here, we had some really good interaction with people. We had some good interaction between us, but we also had people really getting engaged online. And it really came down to talking about our education system not being designed for today, for inspiring entrepreneurs, the challenges entrepreneurs can have, what it takes to be more entrepreneurial. When I think about this, and what I'm interested in us talking about today are some of the steps people can take to be more like Cleve in your book, Who Owns the Ice House? What more specific and tangible things? We got into some kind of really philosophical components, but like practical things that steps people can take to then become more entrepreneurial, particularly those that are, they're aspiring, they're nascent, they're just getting, dipping their toes in the water.
Yeah. That's good, Sean. So the book, Who Owns the Ice House, is 8 life lessons from an unlikely entrepreneur. That's what you're referring to. And Uncle Cleve.
Can you hold up the cover?
Yeah. Here it is. It's let me find the camera. There it is. 8 life lessons from an unlikely entrepreneur. It was inspired by an entrepreneur I interviewed that I was introduced to me, an entrepreneur that introduced me to you, Sean. Clifton Talbot is a Pulitzer nominee. He was also one of the founders of the Stairmaster exercise company.
Yeah.
And I asked him how he learned how to be an entrepreneur. And he explained to me that he was born in this very poor cotton community in the Mississippi Delta in 1940s. And he's born to a teenage mother. And for, those of you who might not be in the U.S. or like this is a time and a place where African Americans, they had no civil rights. They were treated like, third-class citizens, and they weren't allowed, the same rights and privileges as white folks. And Clifton said he was picking cotton. Like that's what the expected way of life. And when he was 13, he went to work with his Uncle Cleve, who owned the ice house. And Uncle Cleve had like a 4th grade education. He wasn't allowed in the bank. He was ridiculed by his own people, but he was the only person in his community that had money in the bank. And Clifton started to explain to me like what it was like from the perspective of a little 13-year-old boy growing up in this world where he could see the disparity between everyone else and African Americans in his community. But yet there's this one guy, his uncle, who's acting differently. Mm-hmm. Now, what I did, Sean, is I actually interviewed about 200 entrepreneurs all over the United States to glean from them like the common and replicable factors in their beliefs and their behavior. So I'm looking at the underdogs here. I'm not really interested in how Mark Zuckerberg's, the kids from Stanford, do it. Like that's not at all interesting to me. I'm interested in how people that have like nothing, how do they do it? Mm-hmm. And I was looking for like what is common and replicable. Mm-hmm. So if you said, well, I won the lottery, that's not really replicable. So I'm not interested in that story. If you're like a genius, you're a Stanford computer whiz with 4.0 GPA, that's hard to replicate. So there are these 8 concepts in the book, and we use the story of Clifton to kind of use the story to guide us through these 8 concepts. So I'm happy to talk about these, Sean, and because we can get into the practical. I can tell you like what we observed in the entrepreneur and then what we gleaned from like digging in.
Let's be specific though. Let's be specific. So what we keep and continuing getting are people stuck, like people just unsure which way to go, fearful, lacking confidence, unclear.
Yeah. Okay.
In some ways, or human traits, but not entrepreneurial traits. And so how do you overcome those self-generated fears, whatever it is that's holding you back? Like, what have you found entrepreneurs, of all the interviews you've done, like, how do they push themselves past that fear so that they can actually overcome it and then move forward? Because right now, lots of people are stuck, man.
Okay, so stop me if I'm getting too common. I'm going to try to keep this really, really simple, right?
That's the best.
You gotta like take some, like, what we notice in entrepreneurs is like they have a vision. There's like something that's compelling to them that they're striving to achieve. Like some kind of, maybe it's I'm trying to escape poverty. That's compelling. Maybe it's like I found a solution that solves a problem. I had this problem in my life that impacted me. I found a solution to it, and I think other people have it. That's also compelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're just trying to make money for yourself, well, guess what? That's not as compelling. I mean, that's not my opinion. That's not my moral perspective. That's rooted in the psychological literature. Mm-hmm. It's got to be helping other people.
Yeah, from our experience as well, if you focus on the money, you're going to be less successful. You've got to have a determination, a drive, a purpose behind what you're going after. A passion.
Correct. And so hang with me here, Sean, because that's the linchpin to the whole damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is the compelling goal, the compelling nature of the goal, mm-hmm. right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't believe you can get to it, it ain't compelling either.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
you don't have to know how you're going to get there, though.
No, you don't. Even you never know how you're going to get there. You just got to believe. And here's the thing, like, you know, I started out cleaning gutters, Sean, in 1987 with a borrowed ladder strapped on the roof of my car.
Mm-hmm.
My vision was to pay the bills, right? My hypothesis was people in wealthy neighborhoods where I'm not from will pay somebody $100 to climb up on a ladder and clean the leaves out of their gutters, because the gutters get clogged up, the rain gutters get clogged, and they cause problems, right? Somebody hired me on my first day. I had enough sense to do what I said I was going to do. Great. I went and did it the next day. I had enough sense to do what I said I was going to do when I said I was going to do it, right? I'm providing some kind of a service to people. I got to be reliable. Got to show up when I say I got to show up. I can't look like, you know, a hungover, you know, idiot. I got to have my shirt tucked in and look like a presentable person, right?
Right.
12 years later, I was doing $5 million in revenue.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
I had no vision. Like I wasn't like, look, dude, I'm afraid of heights.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into gutter cleaning. It's not a fad. It's not anything that, you know, I'm inherently qualified to do. Mm-hmm. It's just that, like, what I was trying to escape was so compelling. Like I wanted, like, you know, the drive for autonomy. I was tired of like minimum wage, you know, mind-numbing jobs. I wanted it. We all want a sense of autonomy, right? So that's what's compelling.
Right. Agency.
So I want to tie two things together here, Sean. Like the goal's got to be compelling. And what makes the goal compelling is it's got to be useful to other humans. Mm-hmm. So you got to like people set out to start like, look, I needed to make money and pay the bills, right? I mean, money was a part of the equation. But the tip of my spear, so to speak, was I got to solve a problem for other people. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about other people first and me second. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of the magic formula. If I'm only thinking about me, I'm going to trip over opportunities every minute of every day. If you like, it's like, this is what we learned from Uncle Cleve. You blind yourself to opportunities because you're only thinking about getting your own needs met. And look, dude, we all do it. You got to pay the bills. You got to get the kids to school. You got to figure stuff out. We're in this COVID crisis. You're in this mode of like survival. And in that mode, it never occurs to you like, wait a minute. What do other people need? What abilities do I have? Like, look around you. Like, just stop for a second, take a breath, and look around you and figure out what other people need.
I think it's beautiful.
It doesn't have to be some big idea. And that's the beguiling nature of the entrepreneur journey, Sean. And you know this. Like, you know, the idea starts out gutter cleaning. I had no idea 12 years later I was going to be building $5 million houses from a famous architect from Switzerland.
Yeah.
I couldn't see that vision, but it started to evolve over time. So you got to step into the arena. You can't wait. Like, get yourself a bucket and a squeegee and start cleaning. Like, do some little stupid thing that helps people that they'll pay you for.
Yeah.
And do it well.
I mean, what this reminds me of is this, that it's the whole idea of doing it afraid, right? Finding what it is that excites you, motivates you, and that there's a need for it, right? That's what you're saying. And then
and experiment. You got to experiment. You got to try stuff. You're not going to find it. Look, 100 years of Google search is not going to reveal the opportunity embedded in gutter cleaning.
Right. But leaves fall every year.
A 30-page business plan and market analysis is not going to reveal that opportunity. You got to get out and strap that ladder on the roof of your car and go knocking on a neighborhood where you're not from.
Yeah, I think
go ahead.
Let's bring it back to today, what you're saying, because I think it's important. Like today, I have a sense, there's always been a strategy around freemium, right? The freemium model, particularly on the internet, free stuff. Yep. And then hook them, right, into whatever you're upselling from that initial freemium item. But it seems to me today, right now, post-COVID, we're 2 months into 24 months, let's say, period of time of transition right now. It seems to me, and let me know what you think of this, and this is for our audience out there, that giving away stuff right now, similar to this show, right? It's just giving away coaching, advice, knowledge and wisdom and reconnecting with people like yourself.
Yeah.
But there's a freeness to it that has a genuineness, like to help. It's like, okay, people need help, people need coaching, people need wisdom, people need insights. Here we are. Do you think that today, the question is more directed today, that there's a benefit for people to be experimenting, but also giving more away right now because there's just more possibility of creating more audience, more people interested in what you're doing, more people wanting to buy whatever you've got to buy. I'm just thinking that like today may be a time to give away something more because of COVID-19, and that it's trust and relationship, and on the other side, that trust will last a lifetime. Let's say lifetime customer.
Yeah, I think there's like, if you're talking about a digital product.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be digital. Like restaurants are giving away food, and I'm just saying, like, you're trying to build connectivity to people right now, and everyone's in the same situation. So whatever you've got, maybe now's the time to give away something in a way you wouldn't normally, but it's going to build trust and relationship in a way that, or reinforce it even in a way that others who aren't right now, or aren't empathetic, or are only thinking about themselves and not thinking about the other people. Because that's really how this came to my mind. You're saying, think about the people right now. Other people need stuff, and they need it for free, and and they're going to be so grateful. Their hearts are going to be so filled that's going to connect. I believe. What do you think?
I like what you're saying, Sean. I think, like, let's get underneath it.
Okay.
Like you said, what you said is like, let's get to the root of this. Is like, you got to build trust, and there's a lot of ways you can build trust. Giving stuff away for free is one way to build trust. But the point that you're really driving at is you got to build trust, right?
Right.
A lady tells me, hey, this was in the Wayback Machine before cell phones, right? I think we need our gutters cleaned. Can you come back tomorrow at 8:00? Right? Yeah. I'm at the door at 5 minutes, 10 minutes before 8.
Hello?
I'm not saying that I'm honest. I'm not saying that I'm trustworthy. I'm demonstrating with my behavior. And then I do what I said I was going to do. I tell them it's $100 to clean the gutters. I clean up. I got all the leaves tied up in, sacks, nice and neat. I walk them around the house, and they see that I'm trustworthy. And they say, well, my back porch is rotten.
Right.
Can you rebuild my back porch?
Yeah.
Oh, so it was that first little foray, a way to engage with me in a way that was low risk. Like that's the real, I think that's the framework of the thinking behind the freemium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in this case, though, I guess it's not so much a freemium as much as it is. Many of the business people I've experienced and just been wandering around and watching, they're very self-centered right now. I got to take care of myself. And fair enough, right? They're trying to survive, but they're very internally. I got to pay attention. I got to focus. And so, how can I take this item and charge more for it? So they're charging more for items, let's say, that normally wouldn't be that much. Masks might be an example. Yeah. So instead of $1,
I'm seeing that. Yeah,
$10, $12, right? That's not building trust, because your first thought is, what's going on and why are you doing that? And you think, I got to get it, so here's the money. But I didn't build trust with them. In fact, I've lost trust with them. Versus somebody who's like, not saying they're giving away masks, but they're charging a lower price, or they're giving away something. They're like, here's an extra something for you. We know this is a hard time.
Right. Right.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. And I think that's hard for people. And because what you're talking about is consistency, persistence, and showing up and being professional and doing it well. As Norman's saying right now in a post he's given us, that kind of is like expected today, right? There's an expectation of some level of performance. But now with COVID-19, it seems like you got to behave a little different. And there's a real opportunity to enhance and build that trust by being nice. In a way that's not, trying to only take care of yourself.
But again, Sean, we're coming back to the same issue in my view. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna use some colorful language. I once interviewed the oldest living. He's now passed. David. Rosen something. I forgot his name now. He like invested in Steve Jobs like in a Series A round. Like that's how old this guy was, right? David Morgenthaler. And he looked right at me in the interview, and he looked at me and he said, the world doesn't give a shit about what you like to do.
Very true. Or how difficult your life is. They don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit.
No, nobody cares, right? Yeah. And I interviewed a blind guy in Tulsa, Oklahoma, named Jim Stovall.
I know Jim.
I know you know Jim. And for the people on Patatu, Jim lost his eyesight at age 29 to a macular degenerative disease, and came up with a way that blind people could watch television. He created a company called Narrative Television Network. And he said to me in the interview that people will give you all the love, all the money, and all the fame you can ever want if you just help them get what they want. And that really gets to the practicality of what we're talking about. And I think if we don't talk about anything else today, Sean, it's really, here's where people get it wrong. I'm starting a business to make money for me. I'm starting a business because I like to do X. I'm starting a business because I'm good at X. And therefore, I think I'm going to be good at running a business that does X. I'm going to start a business because I hate my job. I'm going to open a coffee shop down the street so I don't have to drive too far. I don't have to work too hard. I don't have to learn too much.
Right.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And the recipe for success is the exact opposite, right? So I'll put it differently. The entrepreneurs that fail, they find the solution and then they go looking for the problem. And the entrepreneurs that succeed, they find the problem first, right, and then they find the solution, right? And so that requires problem finding skills. That requires you to, like, you know what that requires? Like something you'll never hear in business school. They'll never utter this word in business school. It's called empathy.
Maybe they're starting to, Gary. It's slowly coming.
Oh, okay. I'll back off.
But it's true. Overall, you're right. I think, or team building, or all the practical life skills we need.
It's all about other, and that's like, I think of entrepreneurship as an altruistic paradox. You get what you want by helping other people get what they want. Mm-hmm. And so you got to think like a detective, like a psychologist, like an observer, like a sociologist. You're always looking around, like what's missing, what could be improved. You know, my wife, Karen, who you met, I think in Rio, you know,
yep.
She gets annoyed with me. We go into restaurants and I'm kind of like looking around like, why aren't they doing it this way? They should be doing it that way. You know, she gets annoyed with me, but it's my brain. It's like a calisthenic. It's not that I'm just trying to be a critic. I'm going through these exercises in my mind about ways they could be improving this product or this service.
You know, this is important here. Give people what they want and you get what you want, right?
That's it.
And it's that simple. And it can take a while, right? Because sometimes people don't know what they want. I'm going to take an example that's a really good example, which is the minivan, right? Nobody knew that. They did focus groups. GM did all these focus groups and all this stuff when Lee Iacocca was there. Nobody wanted one of these things, but they decided to go do it anyway. And, you know, it became one of the all-time best-selling cars on the planet, right? So sometimes people don't know what they want. What about those situations when people don't know what they want?
So that gets me to the next point that you asked about, Sean, which is how do you get yourself in motion? How do you get out into the arena and how do you overcome the fear? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's why I said you need the compelling goal. Because if you believe that there's some sunshine on the horizon, you'll try things, you'll stretch, you'll reach just beyond the limits of your current capability. It can't be too far off. It's got to be in your mind, right? Mm-hmm. This is like the zone of proximal development is the technical term for this,
English,
right?
English, Gary,
English, por favor, right? So that's why I keep saying it's the linchpin, okay? Like it's the compelling goal that pulls you into the future and allows you to be who you should be, not who you've always been. Right?
Yeah.
And that's like, it's like almost like an epigenetic thing. You're like unlock your potential by striving towards something compelling. Mm-hmm. So there's that, right? That's why I said like the compelling goal is the linchpin. Now, let's get back to the more practical. Something that I call micro experimentation. Mm-hmm. Right?
Okay.
So micro experimentation is how organisms survive in unfamiliar, volatile, uncertain, ambiguous circumstances.
Okay.
Right? That's how you survive. So you just don't, like Chrysler, it's okay to go spend $100 million building your first minivan. But that's not how the entrepreneurs can live. Like that's how large corporations, they can afford to take those kind of gambles. But the entrepreneur is resource constrained. And you go mortgage your house and go try to build a minivan, it doesn't work, you're dead. You're DOA, you're pushing carts at Walmart, right? That's it. You're done.
Yeah, but time out for a second. So yeah, maybe it's not the best example in terms of a real
I know.
entrepreneur, and I agree with you. But But even Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were building some of the first personal computers, if not then, and they didn't really know. Nobody knew they needed that. Nobody knew they needed
exactly. But let's break it down, Sean, because that's absolutely right. And I think this is really worth some clarification, because a lot of people look at Steve Jobs and he was just like, screw it, let's do it. The Richard Branson kind of thing. That's a really dangerous way to think as a nascent entrepreneur who's resource constrained, like the underdog. Like, look, Sean, you and I just got separated from our tribe. We're 150,000 years back, hunter-gatherers. Sean and Gary, got lost. Right? Exactly. And now we're in totally unfamiliar territory. We've lost our tribe. We don't know the flora, the fauna, the local climate. We're starving. We come across a bush full of beautiful, succulent red berries. We've never seen those berries before.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go up and start gorging on those berries.
No.
What do? You pull one berry off the branch, you rub it on your lips, and you walk away and see if your face swells up, or you start vomiting, or like, wow, that was really sweet. It tasted good. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right? Then you go back and eat a second berry and see what happens. That's how you increase the chances of survival, through micro experimentation. And what people don't recognize in Wozniak's and Jobs' story is that's what was happening. There was an evolutionary thing.
Sure.
Their first shitty little version, people were starting to pay attention, and then they started to get a feedback loop, and it started to go. He didn't just come out one day with the iMac and go, bam, there it is.
Yeah.
Right? And now you see it's backfiring on them. I just bought a, $1,800 laptop, and I can't use the keyboard because they reconfigured it, and it keeps like jumping all over the place. Because Johnny Ives think he knows more than I know about what I need, right?
The designers got a hold of it, Gary. They over-designed it.
I'm just saying, right? But it's like, so the micro experimentation is how we coax ourselves out of our fear. That fear's never going away, but you just break it down. It's not the big leap. It's not the mortgage your house and just all in. It's like pull the berry off the bush, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're getting out of your comfort zone. You're not only, there's two things happening here, Sean. Micro experimentation allows you to that's the secret. Because that's the secret to uncovering latent opportunities. And the definition of latent is it's present, but it's not visible.
One of the keys that I think, Gary, that I see, and we're going to have to, we've spent quite a bit of time together, and it's fantastic. But one of the things that I've seen with really successful entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs who are capable of doing a lot of things, is they have a lot of micro experiments running simultaneously while they're focused on a couple major endeavors. And as those micro experiments gain more traction, that they get more attention. So it's not
right on.
It's one of those things where I think that it's a natural muscle or reaction that entrepreneurs have, and not everyone does. And so before we close this down, like, what would be a piece of advice you would give somebody to allow them to give them permission to start making those first micro experiments? What would that look like to you? Like, what would it look like to give someone permission to do that? Because a lot of people are held back and think, I can't do that. It's experiment. I might fail. It might not look good. I might not, whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's a sidebar here as well. Like, pay attention to your self-talk. Like, that's super important, right?
Totally.
Like, resilience comes from an optimistic explanatory style. And the research is just utterly fascinating. Like, people who learn to optimistically interpret adversity become stronger, healthier, and happier than people that never suffer adversity in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the adversity becomes an advantage, right?
That's right.
So to give yourself permission, Sean, I think, this is what we're talking about here is called guided mastery. This is from Albert Bandura. Like, it's great. Like, if you can only jump over a 4-inch hurdle, try to raise the bar to 4.5 inches and try to jump over that.
Mm-hmm.
Just take a single step out into the arena in some way. You got to learn to tolerate the ambiguity. The fear's never going away. But if there's something compelling on the horizon, that's what coaxes you out of it. And you come out in little small steps through micro experimentation. And just remember, you're searching for ways to make yourself useful to other humans. We talked about this last week, Sean.
Yep. Creating value.
You're searching for the intersection between your own interests, your own abilities, and the needs of your fellow human. Try things. Talk to people and try things. Like, that's it.
It's beautiful. Now, Gary, before we close out, you're doing a little campaign right now, trying to collect stories, interviews from underdogs. You want to do a little plug on that? We got a lot of underdogs out there.
Oh, I love it, Sean. Thank you. So we're launching a project called the Entrepreneurial Mindset Project. It's a podcast. It'll wind up being videos that, talk about what we were talking about today, like a giveaway, Sean. The world needs the insights and the knowledge that can be gleaned from the world's underdogs. That's one of the greatest untapped resources on this planet. And we're ignoring these people. We're all starstruck with Elon Musk, and we're ignoring the underdogs. And there's so much to be learned from their stories. So we're launching this campaign called the Entrepreneurial Mindset Project. We're interviewing underdog entrepreneurs from all over the world. We're making the interviews live, free, available. Podcasts will make the videos available. So thank you for mentioning that, Sean.
Where do people go to get to contact you if they want to be part of this?
So go to, you can send me an email, Gary@elimindset.com,
Mm-hmm.
Gary.
Yep.
At elimindset.com. You can go to our website, elimindset.com. I would love to have this past week, I interviewed 2 entrepreneurs, one in Greece, one in Zambia. This guy in Zambia took an ice house course like 10 years ago, started selling goats. He's selling like goat meat to like grocery stores all over Lusaka. Like it, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
The entrepreneur. What I found, Gary, with the entrepreneurs, and I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs in Zambia, and continue to. But what I've found is, in Pakistan, and those people who've had a harder life, and it goes back to how I opened. We're all pebbles of sand until we get pummeled by something that makes us shiny like a pearl. That those people who've had a harder life are better positioned to go through the process of building a business than those who've had a cushy, easy life, because
that's exactly what
they're hungrier, they're driven, and I'm just amplifying what you're saying. And but when you talk about that goat farmer who's in Zambia, that's
called Mayambe.
He probably has 500 goats, so it's not a small thing necessarily all the time when you talk about these goat farmers. And
he had $200.
Yeah.
He had 200. I interviewed a lady about 3 weeks ago here in the U.S. She started she makes these like vegan cheesecakes, namaste cakes. Like, holy mackerel, go to her website. They're just amazing. And they're in like grocery stores all over the place. She was like dead broke. She took a blender, a Vitamix, and went to a friend's like juice bar and said, let me try making these things. She had a blender, like nothing else.
Yeah. It's all,
these stories are everywhere, Sean. And so I want to bring the stories back to a question you just asked me earlier. How do you get over your fear? You need to see these relatable social models. And when you see people who have come from similar or worse circumstances doing it, that's what clicks. So stop talking about Mark Zuckerberg, for God's sakes, and Elon Musk, and start talking about the goat farmers and the cheesecake lady and the Uncle Cleves of this world. That's what's going to get you to move, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it inspires people to be more connected to the realities versus it's very hard to relate to an Elon Musk or a Mark Zuckerberg.
Right. I'm going to show you a video of a lady that lost her right arm in Iraq, right? Woke up from a coma, her right arm severed at the shoulder, has no idea what she's going to do with her life, right?
Yeah.
Depressed, her military career's over. She's in her first day of rehab, and she sees some guy with like no legs taking his first steps. She goes, oh, wait a minute, I'm only missing an arm, right? She reframed the adversity into an advantage. And when you see the goat farmer and the cheesecake lady, all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, I'm not missing an arm. I don't have these problems. I have these resources. I could do this. You see that these are ordinary people. That's what'll get you moving. So go out and find, Sean, you know this, man. There's underdogs are everywhere. They're in every town. They're in every community. They're in every village. We're just ignoring them.
Mm-hmm. Well, some people are, Gary. I think.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's us.
I mean, just it's from a societal perspective.
Totally. And it's consistent. You know, the most underserved and underrated people are some of the most incredibly talented people I've met. And I think that, Gary, keep doing what you're doing. You're putting it down in the universe. I know you're gonna come on again somewhere towards the end of this 31 days, and we'll do a wrap up.
Well, Sean, let me make a last point.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you will. I'm going to tie it back to my diatribe against formal education, right?
Please do.
Right. So we talked about this, I think, last week. Like, we have to remember that humans are just like every other mammal in that they have the innate desire and the capacity to learn everything they need to learn in order to adapt and thrive in their environment. So let's use that as a level set, right?
Right.
We have the innate capacity and the desire to learn everything we need to learn to adapt and thrive, right? And you see this, Sean, in entrepreneurs, in the underdog entrepreneurs. You see people of average intelligence, average means, doing amazing things. But you never hear those stories in the annals of the academe, right? And
I think what we're going to do, Gary, is we're going to talk about how to leverage this moment in time to shift that reality, because I think
that's right.
There's a moment to change that.
There's an opportunity.
I know in the United States, we've got about 36 million underdogs now that are unemployed. And so I think that we're in a moment where, and I think it's part of what I'm always thinking about. You can see over here, I can't show you, but I got these arrows back here. Those arrows are going, they don't have anything to them because I don't know what they're going to be yet. And those are the micro experiments that you're talking about. But I think now, trying to, through this process and engaging with so many different people, find those levers that can allow us to shift the dynamics in a way that wasn't possible before today.
Yeah, right on, Sean. And thank you for plugging my Entrepreneurial Mindset project. Look forward to
great work, man. Always here to support you. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Sean. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Amy.
Before we're done with this 31 days, thank you. Have a great Saturday.